Imagine taking a decades-long friendship right and just placing it on a silver platter in the middle of a freezing Scottish castle, and then literally detonating a psychological grenade over a plate of haggis.
I mean, it is just absolute carnage.
It is. We aren't just looking at standard reality television drama today. We are looking at the weaponization of boundaries, the economics of total delusion, honestly, and just a masterclass in mutual destruction. So, babes, welcome back. We love you. We see you. And, babes, we're finally back, and we have stories.
We missed you, Snark Squad. Seriously, thank you for sticking with us during the break. I mean, you could literally walk into one of our dental offices tomorrow and sit in the operatory chair, look up at the bright light, and realize you already know our entire life story.
Oh, absolutely. They know everything.
But we need you here right now, sitting right next to us as the third bestie in this room. Because processing the sheer toxicity of what we just watched on Bravo requires a support system.
It requires a trauma counselor, is what it requires. But before we get into the literal ruins of that Scottish dinner party, we have to ground this in our own reality for a second. Because while these women were throwing entire family legacies into a wood chipper on national television, we were experiencing like the most eye-opening, beautiful, and occasionally totally chaotic vacation to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
So chaotic. And I'm going to be honest, the culture shock coming back is visceral. Like, it is entirely jarring.
It really is.
Because in Addis, there's this incredible, vibrant communal energy. You have the traditional coffee ceremonies, the bustling streets, the sheer warmth of the people. And then you land back in the States and everyone is just hyper-individualistic, glaring at their phones, honking their horns in traffic, like completely dissociating in the grocery store aisle. It is a total shock to the nervous system.
Traveling completely rewires your brain. It really does. Yeah. You step outside of your little curated bubble and you realize how massive and complex the world actually is and how completely ridiculous our daily American stressors are.
Oh, 100%.
Like the things we spiral over here, social media opic status symbols who got invited to what event, they are just nothing. Literally nothing.
I am right there with you. I actually caught myself getting annoyed yesterday because my grocery delivery was delayed by 20 minutes. And I had to stop and actively check myself.
You were spiraling over avocados.
I was. I literally just stood in the cradle of civilization, and I'm furious over a delayed bag of avocados. The perspective shift is mandatory.
Well, and speaking of perspective, I actually have a little personal fact to reveal to the Snark Squad today, something a lot of you might not actually know. So I am half Ethiopian.
Babes, you learn something new about us every single time we turn these mics on.
Right. At this rate, the parasocial relationship is going to reach critical mass. Like, listeners are going to come in for a root canal and start asking me about my ancestral heritage.
You're going to want your vacation itinerary.
Exactly. And my exact psychological diagnosis of reality TV stars.
Which is exactly what we signed up for, honestly. We are literally out here fixing teeth by day and dissecting the psychology of Housewives by night. But I have to ask you about returning to the clinic after that trip. How did it actually feel?
Oh, it was weird.
Right. Because for me, as chaotic as international travel is, there is a very specific grounding effect to putting the scrubs back on.
I completely agree. Because as dentists, our workday is binary. You look at an x-ray and there is either decay or there isn't.
Right. It's black and white. Yeah.
You place a crown, then it either seats properly or it doesn't. After spending 2 weeks living out of a suitcase and navigating entirely different cultural norms, just walking back into the clinic felt strangely therapeutic. It's structured, you know.
It's highly predictable, which I love. Actually, my absolute high of the day today was having a patient come in, and while I'm physically leaning them back in the chair, they start complaining about their friend group dynamic.
No way. Already spilling the tea.
Oh, yeah. And they use the phrase, quote, low down, dirty snake. I had to bite my tongue so hard I almost needed my own dental work.
That is amazing. People truly treat the dental chair like a confession booth.
They do.
My best interaction today was a teenager who came in for an Invisalign check. And they spent 15 solid minutes trying to explain the intricate lore of a massive TikTok drama to me while I had both of my hands inside their mouth.
Wait, how did you even understand that?
I didn't. It was just a barrage of muffled vowels and frantic hand gestures. But I understood the assignment. I just kept nodding and being like, oh, wow.
You're just like, yeah, totally valid. The funniest moment for me was a patient who came in with a fractured temporary crown. I asked what happened, and they confessed they were chewing ice while stress watching a reality TV reunion.
Oh my God, I feel seen.
Right. I just looked at them and said, I completely understand the structural toll that tension takes on the jaw. Occupational hazards of being a Bravo fan.
It's a real medical condition.
Yeah.
But let's rewind to Addis Ababa really quick, because the city itself is breathtaking. It's this massive juxtaposition of historic ancient Orthodox churches sitting right next to booming modern developments.
Yeah, the architecture is wild.
And the hospitality. You walk into any space and you're immediately enveloped. You are treated like family.
The warmth is unmatched. But I cannot hold this in any longer. We have to discuss the fast food anomaly.
But we absolutely have to unpack the spiral we went down.
Because we were driving through this culturally rich metropolis, taking in the incredible architecture, and suddenly I look out the window and my brain short circuits. I turn to you and ask the defining question of the trip. How on earth is there a Burger King here, but no McDonald's?
We spent an embarrassing amount of time debating this. Like, we completely ignored historical landmarks to argue about supply chain logistics.
You did.
Did Burger King deploy some sort of covert tactical real estate strike team to corner the global fast food market in the Horn of Africa? Like, what happened?
It defies all known laws of international franchising. McDonald's is everywhere. I mean, you can find the Golden Arches on a remote island with a population of 12. But in this massive, booming metropolis, it's the absolute domain of the Burger King.
It makes no sense.
What is the infrastructure strategy there? Is it beef sourcing? Is it localized franchising laws?
Total chaos.
Yeah.
We need the Snark Squad to weigh in on this immediately.
Yeah.
Like, what other countries have bizarre, localized fast food monopolies? Is there a sovereign nation out there that only has Arby's? We need to know.
Putting the logistics of Whoppers aside for a second, my absolute favorite cultural experience of the entire trip was participating in the traditional Ethiopian coffee ceremony. Have you ever actually broken down the mechanics of what makes that ceremony so impactful?
Oh, break it down for me. I love this.
It is the deliberate, unhurried pacing of it. They roast the raw green coffee beans right in front of you over an open flame. The smell of the roasting beans mixes with the burning frankincense, and then they brew it in this traditional clay pot called a jabina.
It smells so good.
It is incredible. The entire process takes hours. It fundamentally forces you to stop, be intensely present, and actually connect with the human being sitting next to you. It is the absolute antithesis of an American Starbucks drive-thru where you scream an order into a speaker box and speed away.
It really grounds you. For me, though, the most eye-opening part was learning about the garage culture and their communal agricultural system. They rely heavily on this crop called enset, which is also known as the false banana.
Oh, yeah, the false banana.
Yeah, it's this massive, dense plant where you don't eat the fruit, you harvest the root and the stem. But the crucial insight is that the process to harvest, ferment, and prepare enset is incredibly labor-intensive. It is impossible to do alone.
It requires the collective.
Exactly. It requires a communal effort. The entire village has to operate as a cohesive unit to ensure everyone is fed. Learning about that just put a massive spotlight on how deeply isolated we are in Western society.
We really are.
We go to the grocery store alone, we pay for our own individual boxes of food, and we eat in our separate houses. It just highlighted the sheer anxiety of hyper-individualism.
Which is the exact anxiety driving almost every single conflict on the Housewives. But we will get to that, because traveling completely shifts your paradigm, which immediately triggers the post-vacation delusion cycle. The second the plane touches down at home, you start violently manifesting the next trip.
Oh, I am already deeply into my next vacation delusions. I'm currently debating our aesthetic for next year. Are we Mediterranean yacht people? Are we Serengeti safari people?
Ooh, a safari.
Right. Or are we Bora Bora overwater bungalow beach bums, or maybe hyper-chic Tokyo City explorers?
I mean, in our minds, we are international diplomats of luxury. Unfortunately, my actual bank account has a violently different opinion than my vision board.
Same.
My bank account is suggesting we look into a staycation featuring a plastic kiddie pool in the backyard and a hose.
I feel that in my soul. My bank account is currently giving very much homeless, not toothless energy, which is terrifying.
But babes, enough about our own international adventures. Let's head to Atlanta, because these housewives somehow managed to manufacture just as much anxiety, cultural whiplash, and structural damage as a delayed international flight.
Let's unpack this absolute mess. I am so ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on day 2 in Scotland. The visual aesthetic of this episode is stunning. You have the misty hills, the crisp air, the stone castles.
That looks gorgeous.
And the ladies come down for a beautiful, elegant breakfast. And within 30 seconds, the behavioral whiplash begins.
Oh, let's talk about Phaedra Parks. Because Phaedra, who has spent over a decade on our television screens cultivating the ultimate Southern belle persona, she is the woman who quotes scripture, who acts deeply scandalized by anything remotely untoward.
She practically clutches her pearls if someone uses a swear word.
Exactly. And what does she casually drop into the conversation over eggs and toast? That she was up late browsing Tasty Black?
Oh my God. For the uninitiated, Tasty Black is an extremely NSFW, highly explicit, hardcore adult website. Apparently, K. Michelle introduced the group to this site, and Phaedra just ran with it.
I have to clock the psychological contradiction here. This is the Madonna horror complex weaponized for reality television. You cannot play the holy saint, the pristine legal mind, the conservative mother, and then casually announce you were scrolling through a site that would trigger an immediate HR investigation if you accessed it on a company Wi-Fi network.
It's so true.
The hypocrisy is stunning.
It's hilarious.
Yes.
You're right. It's completely hypocritical. Even Porsha looks at her and says, you can't be streaming that stuff on an international vacation. You have to download it before you leave the country and bring it with you.
Which, by the way, is a massive cybersecurity risk. Do not download illicit files across international borders on unsecured networks. But we digress. So they finish this bizarre breakfast and head outside for the Highland Games. Phaedra has hired two very burly traditional Scottish men to run the women through these events.
Yeah, we've got the caber toss, which is basically throwing a giant tree trunk. We've got the hammer throw. And then we arrive at the main event, the tug of war. They divide into two teams. Team Mighty is Phaedra, Cynthia, Kelly, and Shamea. Team Sturdy is Porsha, Pinky, Drew, and Angela.
First, I'll notice who completely opts out of this. K. Michelle explicitly refuses to participate in the physical exhaustion of a tug of war in the freezing Scottish dampness.
Which is the most relatable and intelligent thing she has done all season. Why risk an ACL tear for a reality TV game?
Exactly. But let's look at the teams. This tug of war is actually a perfect structural metaphor for the social hierarchy of this season. Team Sturdy features Porsha, Drew, Pinky, and Angela. These are the women driving the main storylines, holding the power dynamics, and controlling the narrative. Team Mighty is essentially the supporting cast.
Oh, that is such a good point. And the physics of this matchup play out exactly like the social dynamics. Team Sturdy absolutely obliterates Team Mighty. They pull that rope with such aggressive, synchronized force that Kelly gets hilariously dragged across the wet grass for what felt like 5 literal minutes.
She looked like a paralyzed bug. She was just sliding on her stomach through the Scottish mud.
See, I have to push back on Kelly's reaction here. How do you not even try to brace yourself? She exhibited complete learned helplessness.
She just gave up.
She didn't let go of the rope. She didn't try to plant her feet or shift her center of gravity. Her tiny little feet were just suspended in the air while she accepted her fate, sliding like a penguin on an ice floe.
Look, I am going to defend Kelly's lack of athleticism here because when you are severely outmatched, sometimes the safest physical response is to just surrender to the momentum. If she had tried to plant her feet against that much force, she would have snapped an ankle. She went limp to survive.
It was incredible visual comedy. And the cherry on top is Angela sitting in her pristine confessional being so deeply shady. She basically says she's wanted to physically drag Kelly this entire trip. So getting to watch it happen in real time without getting her hands dirty was a spiritual gift.
The shade. But here's where the episode takes a very sharp, very dark pivot. Because while the women are outside playfully dragging each other through the grass inside the castle behind closed doors, someone is getting financially dragged to the brink of ruin.
Ugh. We have to shift to Pinky. Away from the cameras of the Highland Games, Pinky is having a massive, terrifying breakdown. She is on the phone with her management team back in Atlanta, and she gets the devastating news that between $20,000 and $25,000 was unexpectedly withdrawn from her business account in a matter of hours.
Let's dissect the economics of this scene because this isn't your standard reality TV crying over a missed party invitation or a bad rumor. This is the sheer suffocating terror of small business entrepreneurship. She is actively sobbing.
It was hard to watch.
She is talking about pending lawsuits. She is talking about how she sacrifices her marriage and misses out on her children's lives for a business that isn't even turning a profit right now.
She explicitly states that when the business misses its revenue goals, she has to cover payroll and operating expenses out of her own personal pocket. Like she is financing the company's survival with her own life savings.
And here is where I need to analyze Angela's reaction because it absolutely infuriated me. Angela walks into the room, watches Pinky hyperventilating over a $25,000 deficit, pats her on the back, and then sits in a confessional and delivers this wildly out-of-touch read.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Angela says Pinky ties her entire identity to money, that she only knows how to operate as Pinky with the money, and she needs to realize she has intrinsic worth beyond her bank account.
I'm going to passionately defend Pinky here, and I want to push back hard on Angela's narrative. This is not about vanity. This is not about wanting to be rich or keeping up appearances on Instagram. This is Pinky's livelihood. When you are the CEO of a small business, you are carrying the weight of your employees' actual lives on your back. If that business fails, people don't make rent. People can't buy groceries. It is an overwhelming, crushing pressure to be the economic engine for other families.
Angela's lack of self-awareness in this moment is staggering. It is incredibly easy for Angela to sit in a designer confessional look and philosophize that money isn't everything. Why? Because Angela is married to a very wealthy husband.
Bingo.
If Angela's business ventures fail, her husband absorbs the shock. He handles the bills. Her lifestyle doesn't change. Pinky is out here entirely self-made. She's the only safety net. If Pinky falls, there is no wealthy husband to catch the business. She is facing actual bankruptcy.
It's like Pinky is operating a highly leveraged buyout of her own life. She is borrowing against her mental health, her marriage, and her time with her kids to fund this public boss persona. And in this scene, we watch the margin call happen in real time. The dam broke. The reality of the American dream turning into an absolute nightmare was caught on camera.
Which makes our next segment so profoundly absurd. Because while Pinky is sobbing over the lack of funds to pay her employees, we have to talk about Kelly's completely unhinged, delusional overspending.
Oh boy. Enter the Sprinter van. If there is a physical location more cursed than a Bravo Sprinter van, I have yet to find it. The sliding doors close, the oxygen depletes, and the absolute worst instincts of these women come out.
Kelly steps onto the van wearing an outfit that can only be described as fast food chic. It looks exactly like the McDowell's uniform from the movie Coming to America. It's this plaid structured jacket and hat combo, and she casually drops that her new man bought it for her.
But wait, he didn't just buy her a Halloween costume. She drops the absolute bombshell that this same man just paid $70,000 for her new teeth.
Okay, as two practicing dentists, we have to ruthlessly analyze the math here. $70,000 for dental work is not just a few veneers.
No way.
That price tag implies a full mouth rehabilitation. We are talking multiple implants, custom abutments, master ceramist porcelain, possibly orthognathic surgery, or intense periodontal stabilization.
But how on God's green earth do you walk around with $70,000 worth of elite porcelain in your mouth, but you do not have a permanent stable house, and you are drowning in pending lawsuits?
And math is not mathing.
The utter delusion of her financial priorities is staggering. It is the definition of the sunk cost fallacy. She is investing in the facade while the structural foundation of her life is collapsing.
I hear your logic, but I have to play devil's advocate and defend Kelly's emotional state for a second here. Look at the year Kelly has had. She has been dragged through the mud legally, socially, and as we just saw in the Highland Games, literally.
She was dragged.
Her self-esteem is in the gutter. If a man comes along and wants to spoil her, doesn't she deserve a little pampering? Doesn't a new smile give her the psychological armor she needs to face these lawsuits?
Absolutely not. A little pampering is a spa day. A little pampering is a nice handbag or a weekend getaway. $70,000 for a grill is ridiculous when you're essentially unhoused.
It is a lot of money.
A real partner, a practical man who actually cares about her long-term stability, would say, hey, babe, let's pay off those aggressive legal fees. Let's put a massive down payment on a condo so you have equity. He wouldn't buy her a McDowell's costume and a mouthful of chiclets.
You know, Phaedra completely agreed with you. Phaedra delivered the most lethal, sensible, practically sound read of the entire season. She flat out said if a man offered her $70K for teeth, she'd ask for a box of Crest White strips and use the remaining $69,972 to pay off her bills.
Phaedra spoke for the entire viewing audience. I was cheering at my television. I mean, Kelly is basically operating as the Atlanta ambassador for the Homeless Not Toothless charity from Beverly Hills. It's insane.
And then, because the Sprinter van demands absolute chaos, the conversation violently pivots from dental financing directly into gynecology.
Why?
Drew takes the floor and starts detailing how her pelvic floor dropped after her hysterectomy.
Which, let's be clear, is a very real, very valid medical issue that many women face.
It is. But then she crosses the line from medical advocacy into deep TMI. She vividly details going to physical therapy and getting quote-unquote fingered for 5 minutes by the therapist to fix her pelvic floor.
Why do these women immediately jump to the most graphic vaginal discussions the second those van doors close? Like, is it a trauma bonding mechanism? Or are they just trying to shock each other into submission?
It has to be a psychological dominance play. Because, of course, this prompts Porsha to stand up in a moving vehicle and lead the entire van in a synchronized Kegel exercise routine.
It looked like a bizarre cult ritual. They were all just sitting there clenching in unison, bouncing through the misty Scottish countryside. It was surreal.
So they take their 70K teeth and their newly tightened pelvic floors into a traditional kilt shop, where they learn it takes 12 to 16 hours to hand-stitch these tartans, and then they head straight to a dinner at a place called the Alchemist. And this dinner, this is where the tectonic plates of this franchise completely shift.
Oh man, let's set the stage for part one of the dinner blowout delusions and boundaries. They sit down at this long, elegant table, and Porsha, executing a massive psychological power move, announces before anyone even orders that she is paying for the entire dinner.
This is such a calculated chess move. It's not about generosity. Porsha is establishing dominance. She is flexing her financial independence, playing the magnanimous host, and in doing so, she subtly but effectively isolates Shamea even further.
Shamea has to sit there and eat food paid for by the woman who is actively freezing her out.
Exactly. Then Drew decides she needs the spotlight, so she commands the table by announcing she's doing a music collaboration with Ray J.
Which I have no words for. I simply reject the premise.
Right. But she doesn't stop there. Drew announces that her new tour is being managed by Dennis, as in Porsha's ex-fiancé and the father of her child.
So messy.
And Drew, acting exactly like a messy high schooler passing notes in the cafeteria, leans across the table to Porsha and says, "Yeah, Dennis poured his heart out to me. He said you were the one that got away."
Drew is such a chaotic instigator. She knows exactly what she is doing. She is trying to trigger a reaction from Porsha. She wants Porsha to get emotional or territorial.
But Porsha brushes it off with absolute ice in her veins. She coldly states that Dennis is just mad she moved on. And specifically, she notes that Dennis's ego is bruised because she is now with a woman's sway. Porsha essentially says Dennis doesn't deserve an opinion on her life and that he should just trust her regarding their daughter Pilar's well-being.
And this exact moment is the opening Shamea has been waiting for. This is where it all goes catastrophically wrong. Shamea jumps in and claims that Dennis told her husband Gerald that Porsha didn't want Pilar playing at Shamea's house anymore.
Let's analyze Shamea's fatal miscalculation here. Shamea thought bringing up Pilar would make Porsha look vindictive and petty to the group. She thought the rest of the women would gasp and say, "How could you keep the kids apart? The children are innocent."
But instead of backing Porsha into a corner, Shamea gave Porsha the absolute perfect opening to establish an unbreakable boundary on camera. Porsha doesn't flinch. She doesn't deny it. She looks Shamea dead in the eye and coldly confirms it.
She says she only lets family treat her poorly and remain in her daughter's life. And since she and Shamea are no longer, quote, like sisters, that access is permanently revoked.
I have to get emotional here and passionately defend Porsha's boundary. This is parenting 101. Protecting your child from toxic ex-friends is your fundamental duty as a mother.
Absolutely.
If you are actively feuding with someone, if there is bad blood and mistrust, you do not drop your child off at their house. That is a basic safety protocol for your own peace of mind. Porsha is 100% correct in cutting off that access.
I hear you, but let me challenge that framework for a second. Let me introduce a different psychological concept, DARVO. Deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. I'm not saying Porsha shouldn't protect her kid, but Porsha absolutely weaponized that boundary in this specific moment to humiliate Shamea in front of the group.
How so?
Porsha knows how desperately Shamea wants back into her good graces. Shamea has been sitting there all season watching Porsha forgive Kelly, make up with Drew, make up with everyone else while keeping the door bolted shut for her.
Oh, that's true.
Porsha used Pilar as the final impenetrable lock on that door. It wasn't just about safety. It was a surgical strike designed to show Shamea you mean absolutely nothing to me anymore.
Wow. It was final. And the sheer icy finality of that boundary is what caused Shamea's psyche to completely snap. It unlocked a vault of generations-spanning family secrets that should have stayed buried until the end of time.
Welcome to part 2 of the dinner blowout, the mother of all reads. Shamea realizes the friendship is dead, the corpse is cold, so she decides to strap a bomb to her chest and take everyone down with her.
She starts by accusing Porsha of plotting behind the scenes with production to block Shamea from getting a full-time peach, claiming Porsha wanted the show to herself.
Which, let's be honest, given how reality TV casting works and how fiercely these women protect their spot on the call sheet, might actually be true. But that wasn't enough for Shamea. She takes it to the darkest possible place. The mothers are brought into the crossfire. Shamea brings up the daycare betrayal.
Oh, the daycare. Let's give the listeners some quick context on this lore because it is deep and it is messy. The rumor is that years ago, Porsha's mom, Mrs. Diane, owned a daycare facility that unfortunately went into foreclosure. Shamea's mom, Mom Morton, allegedly bought the foreclosed daycare and reopened it as her own business.
Just think about the predatory economics of that. Buying a foreclosed business from your best friend's mother. The real estate betrayal between two former best friends is already enough for a three-part documentary. Porsha acknowledges this at the table. She waves it off and says that's not a secret.
But Shamea doesn't stop at real estate. She drops a literal nuke on the haggis. She claims that the whole feud between the families started because Mrs. Diane tried to sleep with Shamea's dad.
The entire table gasps. I gasped in my living room.
Yeah.
To bring your parents' bedroom secrets, their deepest shames and infidelities onto international reality television for a Bravo check, it is so unimaginably toxic. I completely agree with the K. Michelle's assessment. Shamea was just overflowing with rage at the pain of rejection, and it pushed her to hit the nuclear button without thinking about the fallout.
But watch Porsha's reaction. Porsha, who has been training in the reality TV hyperbolic time chamber for a decade, doesn't even blink. She instantly fires back. She says Mrs. Diane was flabbergasted by that rumor because Shamea's mom actually slept with Shamea's dad's brother, her own uncle.
It is absolute unmitigated chaos, but let's logically dissect this Uncle Clapback because this is fascinating. Was this a premeditated read? Did Porsha have this locked and loaded in her mental arsenal just waiting for the day Shamea crossed the line? Or did she fabricate it on the spot just to win the argument through sheer shock value? Because when Shamea screams which Uncle Porsha deflects and won't name him.
See, I insist that Porsha's uncle comeback was too specific not to be rooted in some messy Atlanta street lore. You don't just pull your mom slept with your dad's brother out of thin air in a split second. That is a highly specific, deeply damaging accusation that has to come from a kernel of gossip she heard years ago.
I have to ask you, do you actually believe these rumors? Do you think Ms. Diane went after the dad or Mama Morton slept with the uncle? Or is this just mutual destruction? Are they just throwing the most vile, unspeakable things at the wall because they know they have crossed the point of no return?
It's the latter. It is pure mutual destruction. The visual composition of this scene is cinematic. You have Shamea and Porsha screaming across a candlelit table in a Scottish castle, actively destroying their family legacies, and the camera slowly pans to Angela.
Oh my God.
Angela is just sitting there in complete silence, her head hung low, taking a straight, unchased shot of tequila.
Angela represented every single viewer at home in that exact moment. We were all taking that shot with her.
Truly. And Porsha caps off the massacre by looking at Shamea and saying she has the exact same darkness and evil spirit in her eyes as her ex-husband Simon. The fight ends with Kelly escorting a sobbing, hyperventilating Shamea out of the restaurant and into the cursed Sprinter van.
But the war didn't end in Scotland. It immediately spilled onto the internet the literal second the episode aired on the East Coast.
The social media aftermath is just as messy as the episode itself. Post-episode, Porsha immediately took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to control the narrative. She wanted to make sure everyone knew she felt Shamea took it too far by bringing up Miss Diane. But Porsha didn't just defend her mom, she went on a scorched earth offensive.
She publicly accused Shamea of sleeping with her manager, and she specifically noted that this manager is married to Shamea's high school friend. The layers of betrayal.
And if that wasn't enough, Porsha then claims Shamea also has a Decatur pastor who is, quote, 100% on her roster.
It is breathtaking how Porsha operates. She always ensures she gets the last word. She didn't just burn the bridge, she vaporized the structural supports of the bridge. She destroyed whatever microscopic particle of goodwill was left of their decades-long friendship.
And the collateral damage among the rest of the cast is very real. K. Michelle and Shamea unfollowed each other immediately after the episode aired. K. Michelle tweeted out into the void, "A friend to everyone is a friend to no one."
Let's analyze K. Michelle jumping ship here. What is the psychology?
K. Michelle saw the writing on the wall. She looked at the alliances. She looked at the fan reaction on Twitter. She realized Shamea's island was sinking rapidly into the ocean, and she booked the first helicopter out of there. It is total self-preservation. K. Michelle is not going down with that ship, especially not over someone else's uncle.
Exactly. Okay, we need to breathe. Let's pivot to segment 1, Peach of the Week. Who earned the crown this episode? Who dominated the narrative?
I am going to make a strong argument for Phaedra Parks. Yes, her browsing history is highly questionable, but she delivered the most flawless, sensible read of the entire season. The Crest White Strips comment regarding Kelly's $70,000 teeth. She spoke for the working class.
She really did.
It was practical, it was shady, and it was perfectly delivered without having to raise her voice.
I hear your argument, but I have to challenge it. I am giving the Peach of the Week to Porsha for the sheer lethal surgical precision of the Uncle Red. And let's not forget the setup she paid for the entire dinner just to financially flex on Shamea before psychologically destroying her. It was a masterclass in Housewives warfare. Porsha controlled the pace, set the trap with the boundary conversation, and then executed the finishing move flawlessly.
You know what? You're right. Porsha's energy, while absolutely terrifying, was top-tier Housewives material. She earns the Peach of the Week for absolute dominance of the scene.
Moving on to segment 2, Biggest Housewives Delusion, we have to discuss the most outrageous claim, excuse, or behavior from this entire mess.
The nominees are strong this week. Nominee number 1, Kelly, thinking a fast food Halloween costume and 70K teeth are an acceptable substitute for a permanent home and financial stability. Nominee number 2, Drew, genuinely believing a music collaboration with Ray J is going to sweep the Grammy Awards.
Oh, this is a tough debate. Drew's music career claims highly delusional, but Kelly's situation is just deeply messy and embarrassing. To sit on a Sprinter van wearing a uniform your new boyfriend bought you, bragging about the cost of your porcelain veneers while you are facing active lawsuits, that is a level of disconnect from reality that needs to be studied by economists.
I ruthlessly clock the lack of self-awareness in both. But I agree, Kelly takes it. It's not iconic television, it's just financially terrifying. It's the kind of delusion that ends up in a true crime financial documentary 5 years from now.
Which brings us to segment 3. If we were at the table, let's insert ourselves into the Scottish dinner from hell. If we had a seat at the Alchemist, where are you sitting?
Oh, I am sitting right next to Angela. I want to be as far away from the blast radius as possible. I just want to silently take tequila shots, watch the chaos unfold, and judge everyone's outfits without getting hit by the flying haggis.
See, I disagree. I want to sit right next to Porsha.
Yeah.
You have to be in the winning alliance to survive these dinners. If you sit next to Porsha, you are shielded by her aura of intimidation. Nobody is going to throw a glass in your direction if you are under Porsha's umbrella. But if you were there, who would you actively challenge?
I would absolutely challenge K. Michelle for flip-flopping allegiances so quickly.
Yeah.
1 minute she's Shamea's sounding board, the next she's calling her a monster behind her back and tweeting subliminals. I'd call her out on the hypocrisy right at the table.
I would challenge Shamea. You do not bring mothers into the mix. There is an unspoken sacred rule in reality TV, kids, and parents are completely off limits unless they sign a release form and step into the arena to fight for themselves. Shamea broke the cardinal rule. But who would you secretly gossip with afterward?
Oh, we are both running straight to Pinky's room to debrief. Pinky is the only one grounded enough in reality because of her actual real-world financial stress with her payroll to see how insane the rest of them are acting.
Though, let's be honest, how long before you accidentally stirred the pot at that dinner?
Oh, seconds. Literally seconds.
Yeah.
The moment Shamea dropped the uncle accusation, I know for an absolute fact I would have accidentally blurted out, "Wait, which uncle?" out loud before Shamea even had the chance. I would have been the catalyst for the plate smashing. My jaw would have dropped and I would have demanded names.
You absolutely would have. You cannot hold a secret to save your life. Which brings us to our final segment, segment 4, next week's Peach predictions. Let's look ahead to the fallout. What is your biggest prediction for the group dynamic?
My biggest prediction is that the group officially and permanently fractures. There is no coming back from this dinner. Shamea is going to be completely exiled from the core group. She will be forced to cling only to Kelly, who is just happy to have a single ally left.
My biggest alliance shift prediction is K. Michelle fully and publicly aligning with Porsha's side for self-preservation. She's going to make a massive theatrical show of distancing herself from Shamea's toxic energy to ensure she stays on the right side of the cameras.
My biggest read prediction. I am anticipating the exact moment Pinky watches this episode back and sees Angela's shady confessional about her crying over her business. Pinky is going to absolutely eviscerate Angela for that lack of empathy.
That is going to be a bloodbath. Angela is going to try to backpedal, but Pinky will not let her off the hook.
Yeah.
And what is your chaotic theory for next week?
My chaotic theory, and this feels somehow entirely possible in the Housewives universe because nothing is off limits anymore, is that this Decatur pastor that Porsha mentioned on Twitter is going to make an on-camera appearance. Or at the very least, he's going to issue a public official statement via a gossip blog by next week to clear his name.
Oh my God, a statement from the pulpit, a press release from the church. That is deeply messy, but honestly, with the way this season is accelerating, I wouldn't be shocked. The streets are talking, and Bravo is always listening with a microphone.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
But babes, that brings us to the end of this recap.
Before we go, we have a question for you, the Snark Squad. Thinking back to our incredible trip to Ethiopia and the way it shifted our entire worldview, what is the most eye-opening trip you've ever taken? A trip that completely shifted your perspective on life and made you reevaluate your own reality. Let us know in the comments or slide into our DMs. We want to hear your stories.
Thank you all so much for listening and unpacking this absolute madness with us. Do not forget to subscribe, leave us a glowing 5-star review, and share this session with another Bravo-loving babe who desperately needs to debrief this Scottish mess.
Because honestly, carrying the psychological burden of this episode alone is too much for any one person to handle.
Stay shady, stay fabulous, and we'll see you on the smart side.